Hi, how are you doing tonight? I'm Roberta Colasino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. Before I get started on anything card related, I wanted to point out my earrings. They're not showing up very well though, are they? Let me see. That's right. Poke myself in the face. Oh, I don't know if this is going to work or not. Well, they're purple. They match my shirt, and a friend of mine made these. She's actually sort of a shirt-tail relative, and I'm only bringing it up because yesterday, while I was at the dentist's office getting my teeth cleaned, my dental hygienist commented on them and wanted to know where I got them. And of course, it took me a while to remember the name of her Etsy shop and everything else. And then this morning, while I was cleaning off my desk, I found her card sitting right on my desk. So I'll show that to you as well. She does make lovely earrings, and her prices are extremely reasonable. Hello, Kathleen. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please let us know where you're watching from. All right, so I come to you live every Wednesday night here on what used to be called Roberta's Creative Stampers and is now called 11 Lakes Stamper Creatives. And this is a public group that anyone can join. All we ask is that you be nice and that you share. So if you made something that you'd like other people to see, share it. Go ahead and post a picture of it. We'd love to see it. If you followed a card sketch or some type of a pattern that I used in one of my videos, go ahead and post that card as well. And I'll talk to you about that in just a minute. But first, I'll go ahead and turn the camera down. So hang on while I do that. Okay, sorry, I swear that Facebook moves the buttons around, like where things appear. I don't know, it might just be me, but I feel like they move them. I also feel like my camera is wobbly, and I don't know why. That's been happening a lot lately. Well, hello, Barbara. How are you? Haven't seen you in ages. How have you been doing? Please say hello. All right, so I think we're good there. Except that I'm not seeing myself yet. This happens every week. It's the least of my problems. At least I'm not sideways or inside out or upside down. That happens a lot too. There we go. Oh, and everything's facing the right direction. Yay. Okay, so this is the name of my group, 11 Lakes Stamper Creatives. The name of my business is 11 Lakes Stamper. All right, and you can find me at www.rcolasino.stampinup.net. That is my online store. And of course, you can find me here in this group on Facebook, where I come to you live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. But now that I've said that, I need to tell you that I'm leaving town to go help out a relative in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I might be gone for 2 weeks, I might be gone for 3 weeks. I'll bring some things with me in the hopes that I can come to you live, but I don't know what the setup or the layout is like at her new house, and I'm not bringing a tripod, so I'm just not sure if it's going to be possible or not. I'm thinking of maybe trying to use a selfie stick. Oh, you're in Canandaigua, Kathleen. You're really close by. Nice to have you. Thank you for joining us. All right, so today I said I was going to talk to you about DSP. That's what we call Designer Series Paper in Stampin' Up. It's just a short version, an acronym, if you will. There we go. All right, I just made it bigger so that I could see it. All right, so this is my Shirt Tail Relatives card. It's called DeborahStudioBeads.etsy.com. And like I said, she does make lovely things. If you live in the Rochester area, she's doing a show at the Rochester Armory in December. I forget what it's called. Themata. So if you look that up on Facebook, you can probably find that. All right, I see that I'm frozen. Sometimes. Okay. I was frozen for a minute there, so I don't know if you missed much of what I said or not. I'll post something in the comments if it turns out that you missed something. So first thing for newcomers, that this is a calendar that I provide. It's also posted here on this group. It's called a monthly or daily creative prompts calendar. Not something that you have to follow, obviously no requirement to follow it, nothing that you have to follow in order. I just sort of post things. Some things are definite dates, like my coffee, well, like this, and my coffee and a card class here in Newark, which is on the second Tuesday of every month. Still looking for a location to go back to having a second card class, but I have not found an appropriate location yet. So I'm hoping that I will. If you have any great ideas, please let me know. And then I just throw some little thoughts for you about something you might like to try in the way of card making or other things. Sometimes it's just totally personal, like, have a mojito tonight or whatever. And the things that you see in pink are opportunities for you to win a free prize from me if you participate by doing the suggested thing in that prompt. All right, a bunch of business tonight, and then I promise we'll get down to things, but these are things you'll want to know about. So our kits collection, which is online only, is going to be on sale the entire month of October, up to 30% off. All kits from the kits collection. So the kits collections are boxed kits that have in them everything you need. So if they are a stamping kit, they will have the stamps that you need, and they will have a small 1, sometimes 2 stamp spots, which is just I think it's like a 1-inch square stamp pad, but it works just fine. They'll have everything that you need to create the project. Some of them are non-stamping kits. So if you're not a big stamper or not too confident in stamping just yet, then you buy one of the non-stamping kits. But they're definitely worth looking at in my store. All right, the September 3rd, wait a minute. No, registration. So September 5th is World Card Making Day. Sorry. And registration closes tomorrow, yes? September is open from September 3rd until October 4th, which is tomorrow, right? I think so. I should know these things, like what the date is, right? Well, I just had a calendar here. Let's see if I can look at my calendar and find out. What did I do with that calendar anyway? Gosh, I lost it already. Well, anyway, the last day to sign up for this is totally free, by the way. It's a completely free event. And basically, you just kind of watch. If you do register for the event, they'll give you some instructions about some things you might want to have on hand if you kind of want to play along. But typically, with these online events that they do, if you register for the event, it will be available to you for so many days, it might be 30 days or whatever afterwards, for you to review the video, so that in case you can't make it at the actual time. So it's being held on October 5th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Central Time, and 7 p.m. Pacific Time. So now it says last day to register is October 5th. That seems weird because that's the day of. I'm going to have to check into that, and I'll put something in the comments and let you know if I'm really right about that or not. All right, and they're saying you'll receive some type of a gift if you register. So the next thing I wanted to tell you about real quick is that we have expanded back into scrapbooking, which is something we used to do years ago, and we kind of got away from it. And we have scrapbooking kits. I showed you a little bit of one that I was working on last week, and I'll show you the finished products in a minute. So please check. Those are also online only, not in any of the catalogs. Okay? Starter kit, October 1st to October 31st, they're offering a starter kit special. So the starter kit is something that you can purchase for $99, and this time you will get $155 worth of product for your for your $99. You always get a free paper pumpkin kit as well. It will be one that has retired, but that you probably don't care about that. And if you join, that means that you'll be on my team, all right? And of course, I would appreciate that you join under me. There is absolutely no obligation, and I'm not kidding you. I'm not scamming you. There's no obligation to do anything but sign on if you'd like to be what we call a discount shopper. So what happens is you get $155 worth of product for $99, and from the minute you get your email from them saying, congratulations, you're now a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, you also get 20% off on everything you purchase. And this is the part that people never believe, but I promise you it's true, it doesn't matter whether you are your own customer or you have other customers. Some Stampin' Up! Demonstrators really just have themselves as a customer, maybe a friend or family member or whatever. You actually earn commission on what you buy for yourself. Let me say that again. You earn commission on what you buy for yourself at 20% off. Okay, it doesn't get any better than that. All right, so we'll talk about that a little more another night because we've got the whole month to talk about it. But just be aware. Okay, we also have two new online exclusives, and they are the Utterly Adorable Suite Collection and the Marbled Elegance Suite Collection. So one of them features otters, and I know we had something before called Otterly Awesome. I think it was a celebration set, and it was just adorable. So, and not just for kids cards, but certainly if you have any kids that you would make cards for, they're going to love this. And then the Marbled Elegance Sweet Collection certainly looks like it might be very appropriate for Valentine's Day, but it might also just be appropriate for anniversaries and so on. Okay, I see we've got a bit of a delay here. Yep, because I moved that when I realized you couldn't see the whole thing. This marbled paper is just gorgeous, and it looks like it comes with a gold thread, which is also beautiful. Those you have to check out online as well. And then 2 new kits, which is different from an online exclusive. One kit is called a Look Back, and it looks like it's going to be a journaling kit of sorts. And then the other one is called Alpine Air Kit, and that one just looks very pretty. It's hard to tell if it's a stamping kit or not, but I'll let you have more information about this. But you can find these at my store. Okay, so this is just a closer look at those online exclusives. So this lets you see that this one has hearts. So typically speaking, as far as I can remember, I think none of the kits ever come with dies. Once in a while, a paper pumpkin kit comes with or has an add-on die, but I don't think the kits ever do. So if you're seeing hearts here, that these were probably punched out, so they were die cut or already done for you. And then again, this really pretty marble paper, which just, the camera's just not doing it justice. And then these are all the things that come with that kit. So it comes with, no, I guess I lied. So this is an online exclusive. It's not a kit, and it does come with dies. So if you purchase dies, that means you do have to have a die cutting machine to cut them with, and it can certainly be our die cutting machine, but it can be any one that you happen to have. It looks like it also comes with an embossing folder and some adhesive backed heart sequins and the gold twisted thread and some gift bags as well. So that's very interesting. So you can buy the whole suite, or you can just go for the bundle, which is the stamps and the dies and the embossing folder and nothing else, and that's fine too. Okay, so that's done. Now there's the calendar, so let me see. So the 4th, if the last day to register is the 4th, that's Friday. And it seems to me like that would make sense, not having the day of be the last day, because you've got to have time to get the email that they send you and then to kind of decide if you want to participate or if you just want to watch or whatever. All right, so I just wanted to take a minute to show you. We have a couple of scrapbooking kits available right now, and one of them is called Halloween Memories, and that's the one that I bought. But I did demonstrate last week that you can also use the paper that comes in this kit to make a card. So if you're just not a scrapbooker, but you are a card maker, you can absolutely make cards with what comes in the kit. Another option is, rather than purchasing the entire kit, to just purchase the designer series paper that comes in the kit and just use it for what you normally do. Card making, little gift box making, whatever it might be. So I just whipped that one together real quick last week so that you could see. Okay, but I did put together some 2-page layouts. Apparently there were some mistakes. It comes with wonderful directions, and the directions are in color, but when I copied them or when I printed out the new directions, I did it in black and white just to save ink. But there were some mistakes, so those have been corrected in this new thing that you can download. Upload, download. You know what I mean. Oh my goodness. The problem with going live at 7 o'clock is that depending on what your day was like, you may or may not make sense. So these are the instructions that they sent. And I'm again assuming, but I can't say for sure, that they might make corrections in the nice instructions over time if they hang on to this kit for a while, but I don't know that for a fact. So these are all 2-page layouts. And if you watched last week's video, you can see all of the information that I gave you about the kits specifically. My space here is just not wide enough for me to show you the whole thing. I don't know how much I can show you. I need like a wide angle lens and I don't have one. Well, that's pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. So here you see a 2-page layout. So they provide you with the background paper. There's no stamping involved there. So the spiderweb thing comes already printed on the paper. And then they provide you with these papers, which are designer series papers. They provide you with two-sided papers that look black, but on one side it's kind of a gray, the same thing with the purple. And they provide you with all of these cutouts. So nothing on here I added, but you certainly could add things if you had them. So these things you just punch out, and I don't mean with a punch, I mean you just poke them out. They're already cut, you just poke them out. Then they give you cutting instructions. So when I sat down to do this, the first thing I did was I took the cutting instructions for each one of the 2-page layouts and I cut out everything. So I believe this was 9 by 9. I cut those out. I think these were 4 by 4 and I cut those out and so on. So I was all ready to roll. And then you can see where pictures go. I labeled them too because they did, and I wanted to just show that to you. So everything's labeled, kind of like putting together IKEA furniture, but I promise it was much easier than that. If you've ever done that, it's kind of scary. So they tell you that 1F goes with this. So 1 means it's layout number 1. So if it has a 1 next to it, it means it was for this layout. And it made things so much easier for me. And then obviously on these 2 black pieces, that's where you would put your photograph. So that's the first layout, and I was loving this one. And then I went ahead off camera and did the other 2. I think these are the ones I did off camera. So this is layout number 2. Again, they give you this paper that's kind of cool. It's like graph paper. This one obviously is for larger. Now, if you're looking at this carefully, you will notice that one of my pages, I'll point it out to you because we all make mistakes, and I'm big on letting you see my mistakes. So on the right side, it would appear that my books are upside down, and I actually glued them on right side up, but I glued them on this way so that I wasn't going to have a mirror image for my layout. So what I decided to do was turn it around so that the books were upside down, so that this would be laid out the way it's supposed to be laid out. And then at a later date, I will get another piece of this paper because I used it all, and I will put that on top of that so that my books are right side up. Some people might think it was kind of cute that the books were upside down. I think it would bother me. But here you go. So this one is for much larger pictures, as you can see. This is for journaling. So sometimes they give you a spot to just journal where you're going to write that this was pictures of so-and-so on such and such a Halloween. Some of them even have a place to put the date, but you can certainly make your own. And you've got extra space up at the top where you could do some journaling as well. I just love this paper with the books. Right side up or upside down, I loved it. So that's layout number 2. And then layout number 3. Again, they gave you this nice lined paper in our pool party color. The layout on the left side, boy, there's quite a delay. Okay, the layout on the left side has a spot, and this was just a punch-out tag for the date. And then it has a spot here that you're going to use for journaling. You will notice, maybe you will see it, there's some what looks like stitching here. That was the one thing that you could do. If you took a fine tip marker, you could do that, and I chose to do that. You don't have to. The bats were actually a punch-out as well. The banners, they give you measurements for cutting those out. So everything here, this says trick or treat, terrifying good times, all provided for you, no stamping whatsoever. So picture here, journaling here. And then on this other side, the right side, I took a ruler and a fine tip marker. My favorite ones, I talked about this last week too, are these Micron pens. This is a 05 pen, which means it's very thin, but they actually come as thin as a 1, and a 1 is like a hair. That's how thin it is. I'm not even sure exactly what you would use that for. So those are called Micron, and I buy those at Michael's or on Amazon. All right, so this one has a spot for 2 pictures here. This is also intended to be for journaling, and then the stickers go over them that they give you. So I think they're just really adorable, and I think for the price, they're well worth it for someone who doesn't want to come up with all of those ideas on their own, because that's kind of not my gift when it comes to scrapbooking. All right, so on to cards. What I promised you for tonight was to talk about designer series paper. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Stampin' Up! Products, if you do scrapbooking, you've certainly heard of printed paper, patterned paper, and so on. Absolutely not just me bragging, but Stampin' Up's designer series paper. I have thousands of pages of scrapbook paper from back in the day that I used for certain things, not for card making though. Our designer series paper and our cardstock, honest to God, is far superior to what you find in the big box stores. And I've often brought comparisons to classes to show people the difference between our cardstock and our designer series paper and others. Our designer series paper is sometimes as thick or heavy as what other people are calling cardstock. All right, just kind of an FYI. So I used a couple of different things, and I did use some retired product for one of these cards. So this is one of the cards, and this is using something that part of it is retired and part of it is not. So last year in the catalog we had this Autumn Leaves set. It was a suite, definitely a bundle. I think it was a suite as well, with some really nice dies, which also came with some very nice labels. All right, and a couple of texture pieces that were very cool. The stamp set and the dies have carried over to this year, and they are in the catalog. The designer series paper did not carry over, and that's usually what happens, but it was gorgeous, and I just couldn't let it sit and not get used. So I decided to use it for these cards today. So this one is it's a card sketch, basically, that I designed myself. Now, I'm not telling you that someone else hasn't designed the same card sketch, because it's not rocket science, but I think I designed it myself. So it's on our pecan pie paper with basic black layers behind the DSP. And the basic black layers are, hang on, I tape everything to my lamp so I won't lose it. The basic black layer for the longer piece here is 2 1/4 by 5 1/4, and the DSP on top of that is 2 by 5. The basic black layer here is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and the DSP layer is 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. So I'm leaving myself basically like an 1/8 of an inch border there and keeping the card pretty simple. What makes it pop and makes it look a little bit less simple is the fact that it is glued on, that it is backed by something else. So this layer is glued right to the card base, and this layer is popped up with dimensionals. So that's the first card that we're going to make today. And it's pretty easy and pretty self-explanatory. I did add an inside layer, just a liner. And that's all that I did. And sometimes I do that because, well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that I'm never sure what card I'm really going to need next. Am I going to need a sympathy card? Am I going to need a birthday card? And this really would make a great masculine birthday card. It could be a sympathy card. It's not, crazy, happy, bright colors or whatever. So sometimes I don't put sentiments on the cards that I make and demonstrate. And another reason why I sometimes do that is because some people, my husband was a person like this, okay? He refused to buy a place that we looked at once because he hated the carpet. Now, carpeting, that comes up, right? So sometimes people see one thing and they can't get past it. So if I make it a sympathy card, someone might say, well, I don't want to make that card. I don't need a sympathy card. So sometimes I think I'm better off not adding to it. So I'm going to start off with this layer. And I did dry fit this whole thing using just copy paper, or printer paper, just to measure out my layers and see if I like them, and see if I like the way they overlapped and so on. So I'm going to start out by gluing this piece to this piece. Now again, for anybody new, we do use the Tombow Mono liquid glue, multi-liquid glue, multi-purpose liquid glue. It has both a pen tip and it has a broad tip on the bottom for when you need to lay out a thicker line of glue. So that's very cool. Very cool. Sometimes in classes we get a little messy with the glue. Not pointing any fingers, but sometimes we get a little messy. So I decided to try out these fine tip glue bottles. I got them on Amazon, and I filled them up with our Tombow glue. So that seems to be helping. Now look at the other side of this paper though. Isn't that gorgeous? So one side has the fall scenes and the other side has the, what's the word I'm looking for, metallic designs. So just gorgeous, so much so that I hate to pour glue onto it. All right, so these little fine tip glue bottles. You people must think I drink. Honest to God, I don't. I rarely drink just because it sounds terrible, but it's a waste of calories. Since I joined Weight Watchers, I've just decided I'd much rather spend my points on food than drink. That may change some nights, but for the most part, that's how I feel about it. Okay, so that's why I have a pin stuck to the side of every bottle with it's just a piece of tape and a piece of paper wrapped around it, because they do get clogged up easily and they are very thin. And it's very hard to squeeze out too much glue, which is a good thing. These bottles, just truth in advertising, if you have issues with your hands, whether it's arthritis or MS or any type of thing like that, you might find these glue bottles a little difficult to squeeze. Just saying so that you know. But if you don't have any of those issues, and so far I have minimum issues in those areas, but that could change in a heartbeat. All right. The other thing I tell people is when they think that they need a lot of glue because they think that little beads of glue don't work, what I tell them is just press it down. It's kind of like you're making the glue bond to the paper. If you just put it down and then think you're done, that's probably not going to do the trick, and in fact your thing may come apart. All right, so just look at that one. That's pretty peacock. Oh, I froze again. Darn. All right. Okay, there's a delay and I froze. Okay, that's pretty peacock. That's also just gorgeous. It's one of my favorite colors. It was one that retired and then came back. It was, I think when it was here the last time, it was what's called an in color, which is a family of 5 colors that rotates out every 2 years. So every year we get 5 new in colors, and then the following year we get 5 new in colors. So we're basically getting new in colors every 5 years, every 2 years, every year, but they last for 2 years. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. So again, I'm just making sure that that's really stuck down. And now I can go ahead and adhere this to the card base. You can see, the one thing I tell people in my class is don't stop. Like, keep moving the glue bottle, because if you just squeeze in one place, then you're going to get a glob. And when you're gluing down, especially the designer series paper, because it is thinner than cardstock, what happens is that glob can actually show through as a bump on your card. And who wants bumps on their cards, right? So I just use my bone folder and just make sure that everything gets pressed down. Now this one you could glue down, but I chose not to. So instead I'm going to pull out my Stampin' Dimensionals. This says mini dimensionals. Oh, the other side says mini dimensionals. But they're not minis. Some of them are. We have mini dimensionals and regular size dimensionals, and we also have a mixed package of black dimensionals for when you're doing something dark and you're afraid that the white might show from underneath. And the black dimensionals come with a mixture of the large and the mini, which is kind of nice. This is our Take Your Pick tool. Whoops. Which I always try to twist instead of pulling. So it has ends that come out. So you have the pokey end, which is good for lots of things. I'll show you one in a minute. The spatula end, which I like to call the oops end, because I use it to pry things off when I've made a mistake. We also have an embossing end that I don't have attached right now. And we have our putty end, which is great for picking up little bits and pieces of things. So what I use this end for is to get the backings off of these. Right now I have thumbnails, and those are the only nails that are growing. So that's all I have is my thumbnails, and I have kind of promised myself to stop using my fingernails as tools because it doesn't help them grow. I also have to stop using my teeth as a tool. I do that sometimes too. All right, so you will be the one who will decide if you want this a little further down, if you want it further up, if you want it smack in the middle. There are no rules here. It's entirely up to you. I do like to keep my outside borders even though, so that's the only thing. But even that's not a rule, that's just me. So there you go. And at this point we could, let me see if I can find what I'm looking for. So I did a bit of die cutting today. I always say when you go to die cut one thing, don't just do one, do more. So I did some die cutting of some labels from, hang on, some labels from Spotlight on Nature, and those are the circular ones that you see in there. They are so pretty. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, as you can see, in varying sizes, and they all have a slightly different design on them. And then I also did some die cutting from, here it comes, from the Unbounded Love set. So the Unbounded Love bundle is a sentiment only set, so there are no images here, just sentiments. And then they have dies that will fit all of those sentiments, but will certainly come in very handy for other things as well. You can use them in conjunction with other things. So if I wanted to, and I really should show you some of these because they're just way too cool. So these are the, oh, and this is a punch. I think this punch retired though. It's called the Decorative Circle Punch, but I like it a lot. So there's the biggest one, and the next one you see different designs, and then this is the next largest one. I didn't do anything with the smaller ones today. So that's from the Nature's, what did I just call it? Spotlight on Nature bundle. And then these are so cool because some of them actually have 2 parts. So like this one here, this looks like something you would throw away when you were done with this, but don't do that because it's actually meant to go, nope, not that one, hang on. It's actually meant to fit in here like this, but what you could do, you're saying then why isn't it just one piece, right? But what you could do is you could cut one of these, you would get both in a certain color, and then cut another one out in white or in very vanilla so that you could then have this be, let's say, black on this very vanilla, or have this be yellow on this black, or whatever colors you wanted. So that's the reason why they have them separating. This one is so cool. I thought that was cool enough as it was. Look how pretty that is. But again, you're going to keep what looks like the part that you should be throwing away because you can use them together but swap out colors. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes I'm not sure I make sense to me, but I'm not sure I make sense to others. This one is the same thing. So again, you would use 2 different colors. And this one, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that or not, is slightly embossed. Every time I hold something up to the camera, I hold it in the wrong place. Yeah, come on, focus, focus. Oh, yeah, there you can see it a little bit. Slightly embossed, so that makes it really cool too. I think there's at least one more that's like that. And then the others are just plain, like this one is just plain, and this one is just plain. This one, you could certainly use just like this if you wanted something plain, but you could use it with the other part of it. So don't think that any of these things that come out of here are garbage because they're all meant for something. All right, they are all meant for a purpose. Okay, so again, I'm just not 100% sure that I want to add a sentiment to this yet, but I wanted you to see what I was doing just in case. Set these aside for now because I might decide to use them. And then, of course, because that's a little dark for writing on, we add a layer. So this is very vanilla. I tend to use very vanilla a lot in the fall because I think it looks really nice with fall colors. And then the rest of the time I use basic white. Although, now that I've said that, very vanilla also goes very well with a lot of Christmassy colors and with a lot of our Christmassy DSP. So that's another thing that you can use it for. And it's just, whoa, what was I going to do there? It's just a pretty color. Very neutral, but not quite as bright as white. Not quite as in your face, you know. Okay, now sometimes I take a strip of the leftover designer series paper that's the same length or longer as the card, depending on whether the card's going this way or this way, and I put it across the bottom just as a little decoration. And I usually use the opposite side just for some contrast. But when I looked at this, I just really liked that view. I liked the way that white pumpkin or white gourd was just sitting right in the middle, and I don't think I care that it's not the exact same length. I decided I wanted to use it anyway. It just kind of helps fill in the spot a little bit. Hey Amy, how are you? You missed my scrapbook layouts. You'll have to watch the replay. Tell me what you think. Amy is quite the scrapbooker. So I like to leave a little border on the bottom as well. And then I think that's even on the sides. And I know it doesn't go all the way to the end, but I just decided I didn't care. I liked it that way. So that is card number 1. And again, this is so nice looking that I'm not even sure that I would want to put a sentiment over that. You certainly could, but I have mixed feelings about it. So I might put my sentiment on the inside of this card. Sometimes I just like the outside so much I don't want to mess with it. And this is kind of one of those cases. All right, so card number 2. I think I've lost it already. Card number 2. So this is where, again, DSP doing the work. So this one here, that designer series paper is really making this card. And here again, this designer series paper is current in the catalog. I think it's the spring catalog. We get new catalogs only a couple of times a year, but I still have like a very difficult time adjusting to the new catalog and remembering the new products. So this is from this paper is called Thoughtful Journey. It's a 6x6 paper, as you can see. And some of the papers were very spring and summery looking, and some I thought could definitely be a little bit more fall looking. And I picked some that were really fall looking to do in my class on Tuesday, but I picked this for myself because I didn't want to use up all the fall looking papers. And that one goes along in a bundle or a suite with the Thoughtful Wishes stamp set, which is really nice. It's just got some really nice foliage. You can use them as flowers or just as greenery. This one is obviously flowers. It has some nice sentiments that I like, and I always like when they mix the cursive with the printing. And then here are the dies, and if you take note, you'll see that there seem to be a whole lot more dies than there are images, because there are really only 3 images and then the splatter thing, which comes in very handy, by the way. If you've never seen me use a splatter, it comes in handy. So it's got a die that will cut out some of these things, but then it has extras as well that will just cut out, let's say, a piece of cardstock in green or whatever. So this one here looks like it really is just greenery with no flowers attached to it. But there's things that you could do with that. And they also have just plain leaves scattered around, and then a just plain flower that could be coming up out of the ground on your card. So it's really kind of interesting, and you have to play with them to kind of get the feel of it. I'm trying to see. So this one here that I thought sort of looked like this does not go with this. That goes with this, I believe. It's like I said, it's kind of different. You definitely have to look at these things and play with them, but the more you play with them, the more possibility you see in them, and that's what I love. So I am here to admit to you that I have not played with this a lot. Last month in my card class, I think we used this one, and we colored them with watercolor pencils. But I have not used all of these dies yet. So, but it's a lovely set, and the paper is just gorgeous. So this is the card, and this is kind of, it's a little bit unusual. So basically what we've done is I've taken here, let me get you let me find it first. Hello. Oh, here it is. So I took a piece of wild wheat cardstock that was 11 by 4 1/4 scored at 5 1/2. And I cut off 4 1/2 inches of it. So I have over here next to me a pile of these squares that I will definitely find something else to use with, because they're big enough to be a background on a card or whatever. And then what you're doing is you are using your bone folder to give this a good burnish so that it's not fighting with you and wanting to stand up all the time. And then we are taking this designer series paper. Now here's one with the fall colors in it. And you're just putting it in here. So I cut it to be the exact same size as this card base. So it should be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I think I trimmed it so that the tiniest like hair smaller, just to make sure that there wasn't anything hanging over the edges. So what I'm going to do then, I'm just going to move this part out of the way for a moment. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to glue up just this 1-inch strip. So you may not be able to see the fold, but it's there. So I'm just going to glue up just the 1-inch strip. Even though I'm going light with the glue, I like to get the edges and I like to get the corners so that those don't come up. Then I'm going to kind of go like this and get this piece of DSP right where I want it, and then fold that over, because now I know it's perfectly placed. So basically we are using the Designer Series paper as the front of the card instead of using cardstock, which is what we typically use as our front cover. But what's nice about it is when you open this up, depending on which pattern you have, the back side of these papers is all just kind of a watercolor wash sort of thing. So how pretty is that? So you're really talking about the DSP doing the work. I actually have a, what do you call it? A board on Pinterest, thank you, called Let the DSP Do the Work. You're more than welcome to follow me on Pinterest. I believe I just used my own name on Pinterest. It's kind of crazy that I don't know that, but I think I do. I'll see if I can find a link for you. And then, of course, I put a liner on the inside and did use a strip of the paper just as a little extra decoration. So I didn't do any stamping, and once again, I didn't put a sentiment on it, but on one like this, I wouldn't mind putting something bigger because there's still so much to see. So I wouldn't mind having that right there. You're still seeing all of that, and then when you open this up, you're still seeing, oh my gosh, all of that beautiful stuff there. Okay, so I think that looks great, and this, again, this could be, definitely could be a sympathy card, definitely could be a birthday card, could be a masculine one, you know, and people are always asking me, so many flowers, we see so many flowers and so many pinks and pretty colors, but I need a birthday card for a guy, and he's a guy who probably doesn't want a pink birthday card. So, you know, what do you recommend? So colors like this are great for that. They're neutral. This wild wheat color is, I know I keep saying this, I did not like this color at all when it was first introduced. It's one of our in colors for the 2024-2026 period. I didn't like it. Now I love it. It's kind of a chameleon, I call it, because depending on what you put it up against, it can look green, but it can also look gold. And I like that. So it sort of picks up the colors that are around it, and there is wild wheat in this Designer Series paper. So that's the other thing about Stampin' Up! That I just love, and most people who use their products love, is the color coordination. So the ink matches the paper, matches the Designer Series paper, matches the ribbon, matches the embellishments. They all match each other. So that is card number 2. And card number 3, I had a little fun with. I love using embossing folders, and I forget to use them sometimes. I mean, I have them. I have a zillion of them, but I forget to use them. So this is the card. This is my sample. And I used I always think the name is wrong on this, but it's called the Leaf Fall 3D embossing folder. And this came out in the August to December 2022 catalog. It is no longer in the catalog. It retired, but it is now an online exclusive. So that means you can purchase it, but only online. Okay, so what I did was I positioned my paper in the folder a little bit differently than you might. Very often we tell people to make sure you get your thing in there straight, your paper in there straight, line it up on this black line here, but I didn't do that because I knew that I wanted this whole side, I wanted as much as I could get to show, and I didn't care as much about this side because I was going to be covering it up anyway. So I put it in this way so that it was like almost to the top, actually about 1 inch shy of the top and about 1/4 of an inch shy of the left, and then I just made sure that it was as straight as I could get it before I ran it through. So you can always do that. I also knew ahead of time that I wanted this card to be in landscape mode. And to remind me of that, because sometimes I design a card days before I make it, I made a little line here in pencil, which is going to get covered up anyway, going from left to right to remind me that this card was supposed to be in landscape, because I have messed up. Hard to imagine, I know, but I have. So we also, before we put anything on the front of the card, we want to make sure that it's opening the way that we want it to be opening and that we're putting this in the right direction. I also cut this paper again to the exact same size as the card front, whereas very often we leave like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch border. This time I chose not to. And the reason I chose to use the very vanilla card base was because then I don't have to worry about putting a liner in there. So embossed paper has lots of bumps in it. So we are putting the glue on what's called the debossed side, and I'm choosing to use the embossed side facing up. You might like the other way around better, and sometimes I do as well. But I want to make sure and use a little bit more glue, especially around the edges than I typically do, and especially over here where it's flat, because if the glue sinks in to these kind of dips, then the glue is not making contact with our paper. So because this is the same size and I'm not leaving a border, I can just pick it right up and make sure that it's on there the right way. And then I will emboss it. I will burnish it, but I'm not pressing too hard because I don't want to flatten out my embossed sections of the card. That would be a shame, right, to flatten that out after we went to all the trouble to emboss it. So I'm going to hold it up, and I'm hoping that the light is good and that you will be able to see it. I think you can even see it there while I'm burnishing it. Oh yeah, so isn't that pretty? I always feel like it should be called falling leaves or fallen leaves, not leaf fall. It just doesn't seem right. Okay, so this time I did not use a background color on this like I did with the other card with the pumpkins. This is the 6x6 Designer Series paper in our color collection, and I believe this is the Regals. So this is Cajun Craze, and this is Crushed Curry. And this piece here is 3x3, and this one is 2x4. So that's my card sketch for this one. This paper is basically non-directional, except you might decide, since this was bigger, you wanted this part facing up. You know, it's entirely up to you to decide how it goes. But basically it's non-directional, in my opinion. And this is definitely non-directional, but I should point out that paper has two sides. So in my class on Tuesday, someone might say, well, Roberta, you may like those, but I like these better. Or maybe I want to do this and the polka dots. So you always have choices with our Designer Series paper, because with the exception of some of the specialty papers, they are all double-sided. So that always gives you some choices, which is great. We all like choices, right? Okay, so the other thing, speaking of choices, is that you would have a choice whether you wanted to put this down first and put this over it, or the other way around. Really doesn't matter. But I chose to put this here, and I kind of like that this pops out over that. That's just me. To my eye, that looked better, but hey, you do you. That's what I always tell people. And the ladies who take my card classes are doing so much better. I mean, it's been several years now. They used to just want to copy my card. They'd have to look at it, over and over again, because they thought everything that they did had to be exactly like I did it. Now they're just like, nope, I'm not doing it that way. Nope, I'm not putting it in that direction. I'm putting it in this direction. No, I'm not using that color ink. I'm using this color ink. And I love it. I love when that happens, because that lets me know that they really feel comfortable and confident in what they're doing. All right, so I'm just going to use my hands to press that down, because I just don't want to get rid of too much of that texture. So I think I do like that one going that way. Again, it's not a big deal. And when you add a background to it, like we added the black and the other color, it does make things pop. It's a different look. It's maybe a slightly more finished look, but sometimes I like this too. And on this particular background, I didn't want to take away any more of that pretty embossing than I needed to. So I'm going to go over maybe 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch onto the yellow, and then just make sure that it's straight. I don't necessarily care if it's even, but I do want it to be straight if possible. Okay. And sometimes you'll look at it and say, lady, you still didn't get that on straight, and that's because I'm about 1 foot away from this, whereas normally you'd be closer, but if I got closer, my head would be hitting the camera, and that wouldn't be fun for any of us. All right, so I did kind of play with this one, and I thought, it's a little too much. It's a little too big. I like this one better. There are other options as well. I don't think I have them all out here with me today, but there are other options. There are punches that we have the modern oval punch, which would punch out, obviously, an oval, and some other things that would work just as well. Again, I think I'm going to hold off on this one. I don't need a liner on this one, but I definitely might want to stamp something in, possibly some leaves, possibly something from, even though we're not using that paper, I might want to put in something along the bottom of this, like maybe just some greenery. It might go up one side and have almost the whole thing, or I could cut it off where I'm only stamping it, let's say here, and maybe I stamp this 2 or 3 times across the bottom. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to make the insides of your cards more interesting as well. And even though I haven't demonstrated this in a while, don't forget about your envelopes. No naked envelopes, okay? So you can decorate the flaps of your envelopes or the outside of your envelopes, and that really impresses someone. And even though the cost of postage has just gotten crazy and might even get crazier in the future, I encourage people to send cards. I got a birthday card today from my brother-in-law, and it was a handmade card. I give my handmade cards to him to use, but of course he's not going to send me one of my own handmade cards. So he buys some at an antique store in Henrietta that has some consignment, I guess. And it was really a lovely card. And it just made my day because there was junk mail in there and there were bills in there. And then I saw the card and I saw his handwriting and I knew who it was from. And it just made me happy to have something, even if it wasn't a birthday card, just a... how are you feeling card, anything like that. I think people just really appreciate seeing something in their mailbox these days that is anything but a bill or a bad notice that you don't want to be getting. All right, so that one I think I would put a sentiment on the front. This one I think I would put a sentiment on the inside, just because I don't want to waste all that beautiness, all that beautiness. I don't want to waste it. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And if this was your first time, I hope you'll come back again sometime every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock and check out my store as well if you're interested in any of these products. I would love if you purchased from me. And at the very beginning, again, just in case you're new, when you make a purchase with me in any given month, if you use this host code, okay, so it'll ask you who you're shopping with, so you can put in my name and then use this host code if your order is under $150. If it's over $150, don't use the host code because you'll actually earn some rewards, all right, a minimum of 10%. So at $150, you're getting $15 worth of rewards, which lets you possibly buy an embossing folder that won't cost you anything. It might let you purchase some embellishments that won't cost you anything, or maybe a $22 stamp set that you just have to add a few dollars to. So that's how that works. But if your order is below that, then I get those host rewards instead, and I can use those to bring you videos like this and to purchase things that I need to purchase for videos and classes and so on. So I really do appreciate it if you use that host code. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you next week at 7 o'clock.